In the radar screen, we have 8 master alert systems. They're box color alert systems. In other words, when a particular item has that qualification, you get a box color alert. There's different ways of alerting you to different conditions, but these 8 master indicators are just absolutely fantastic in giving you information. The one that I'm going to show you right now is the Master 6 Up Touch Alerts, and that is right here in those 6 boxes that just changed. And the 6 columns, as you can see, are when the first 3 on the left are when yellow is above 0. That would mean the trend yellow. So we've got trend yellow above 0 or trend yellow under 0. And we have in the first column trend red up touching one of the lines, trend green up touching one of the lines, and trend gray up touching one of the lines, while everything is above 0. The yellow, pink, and blue lines, that would be the trend trio, are above 0. I'm just using yellow because it's the closest one to 0, whether it's above or under 0. All of the trio lines cross the 0 line at the same time. And the next 3 are yellow under 0, red's under 0, green's under 0, and gray is under 0. In this particular box right here, I'm going to take I'm going to take the trend red is up touching, and there are certain boxes that it's up touching. The color of the box is the line. So in other words, trend red is up touching yellow right here. Again, it's up touching yellow right here. Then the trend red is up touching the pink line, and the gray line is under 0, and the tan line is the 0 line. I use the tan line as the 0 line in all the charts, and so this basic same color is going to be used here. And so when it's like for example, when the trio is under 0 and trend red is above 0, it's about ready to down touch it, then it would be tan in color. This one right here is changing between tan and gray because the line is just going under 0. Or trend red is just going under 0 in this situation right now. Also, when I use these charts, I almost always use the 7 short-term trend lines, and that's over here. There are 5 lines. Again, I'm using trend 0 over in the left-hand column. And I'm only using 5 even though we have 7, and I'm doing that simply because there's no need for the other 2 columns, because trend yellow, pink, and blue will always cross 0 at the same time. They will always be up together and they will always be down together. So there's only need for 1 line. When you look at that line, you can see you can see many things. First of all, the green box tells you that the line is going up, and the red box tells you that the line is going down. The white text tells you that the lines are above 0, and the dark red text tells you that the lines are under 0. If you look at this one right here where I have you got a green box on trend trio and 4 red boxes after it, and they're all under 0. And in fact, green is under 0 as well, but you may have heard me say in other videos that the trio is faster, the trend trio is faster than the power orange or green or the swing red and green. And it's right there, it is. It just shows you the trend trio has turned around, it's turned green, it's going up. This could be the first day that it is up, and the rest of the lines are still down. That's happening up there in this one right here. And it's going on the number 1 trend trio is going down, and the other 4 are still going up. So again, you can see the trend trio is reacting quicker on the first line by turning red and then going down. So the 7 short-term trend lines are in those 3 groups, but they are just powerful information in giving us market pressure or market forces within the stock at that particular point in time. So whenever we look for a pattern and we start to look at verifying the conditions for that pattern, we always look at the short-term trend lines. And the radar screen, if you got 10 patterns, the radar screen is a real quick way to do some analysis of those 10 patterns. It's just a fantastic and quick tool to use to identify what's happening in the particular stocks. Most people will think, well, I'll take 300 stocks or 400 stocks and I'll find a certain down touch that I want, or whatever the case may be. In this column right here, we've got yellow under 0, so the trio lines are all under 0, and trend green is up touching. In this case, these two are pink lines. It's up touching the blue line. The tan line is the orange line, and it's up touching, and it is in the gray line is over 0. When it's in the other chart over here, and by that I mean in the down touch chart, you have the up touch chart and the down touch chart. When you see gray, it's down touching. The gray means that it's under 0, whereas the gray over here in the up touch chart means that it's over 0. So you're trying to get those crossovers where they cross over and then they reverse and come right back down. It's within that idea of the nose sticks out. You'll see several videos, and in numerous other places I make comments on various videos about the nose sticking out. That would be the indicator line sticks out above the majority of the other slower lines. Like in the swing chart, you might have red, green, and swing gray and blue, all pretty close to 0, and then swing Zion comes along and sticks and just goes right up above the 0 line, or goes up above those 4 other lines, the heavier moving lines. Swing gray moves slowly. It's the deep cycle indicator. And then of course swing red and green are your slow lines. They're two of the 7 short-term trend lines. And blue is connected with red and green in that it is a indicator identification crossover indicator, I guess, is the easiest way to describe it. Crossover or cross under to start an uptrend or a downtrend. Now, there's just a lot of information that you can gather. The Zion lines are your sky touches or your spike touches. Remember, in your down touches, we have a requirement that you have to have at least one down touch when you're looking for a gap pattern. And so the 3 gap indicator or 3 gap patterns that we use to locate gaps are the identical indicators, the down touches in the trend chart, and the proximity group patterns, location patterns, and shape patterns. And the easiest way to think about the location and the shape patterns is to think about they got to be, you might have a particular pattern, and most of the time the power 4 lines, pink, blue, white, and yellow, are above the power orange line, whereas the power Zion line is under the power orange line. And that will cause a real nice gap up, and in fact that particular location pattern does so. But certain patterns will have 2 or 3 general locations that occur quite often when you have a gap up of that pattern, or you're using that pattern. And so it's like the location of the indicators is within 2 or 3 of the patterns that generally cause gaps up. So they're used kind of like a verification process, more so than you have to have this or you have to have that. Because unlike you have to have, you don't have to have 12 identical indicators, which is a majority of the 22 MFR, but it is highly recommended. You could have 9 and 5 in 9 identical indicators in one pattern, like a BOC pattern, and 5 identical indicators in a right leg W higher pattern. And that is a 14 identical patterns in a 2-pattern group. And 1 and 2 patterns work. Occasionally we'll see 3 patterns. But the total, the more than 12, is the key thing that we're looking for. And it's basically just has to do with the amount of evidence. If you haven't figured the system out yet, it's basically a situation in which we have just an increasing amount of evidence causing greater strength, greater movement, larger gaps, etc. And so this particular indicator, the 6 uptouches, the 6 uptouch alerts on the radar screen, those are going to be your alerts for gaps down. Because remember, the whole system is built on a reversal recognition identification system. We have alerts, and those alerts tell us that the cycle is going the other way. And so uptouches, they come up against a vertical, some line like the 0 line or some of the other trio lines, the heavy lines on the chart. Those 7 short-term trend lines are all considered wide lines or heavy lines. Those are the ones that trend red, green, and gray bump into. And that's why we have, on these 6 columns, we have red, green, or gray above 0 and red, green, or gray under 0. Those are the lines that do the touching of the heavier lines, or the 0 line. The 5th area, or 5th touch, is underneath the 0 line, and the 6th one is referred to as a sky touch in the down touch patterns, and it's referred to as a spike touch in the up touch patterns. There's lots of information on that in the 3 gap patterns, and you can read that or look at additional videos. This thing is just exciting. These are color coded to the line. We were not able to do that in all the indicators, or master indicators, but another great indicator is your divergence indicator. We have probably a dozen different types of divergence listed on that indicator that you can see just by, you throw a couple hundred symbols on the radar screen and you look through it, and you can see the divergence in every single indicator instantaneously. It just saves many hours of investigation. It's super fast compared to the way we used to do it, because sometimes you couldn't tell whether you had a BOC higher or a BOC lower pattern. I mean, 1/10 of 1/100th of a point, 1/10 to 1/100th of a point, it could be the range, and you can't hardly see that on a chart, but you can glance at the radar screen and tell instantly, because it electronically calculates it and gives you the answer. And so you can there's several other master, obviously the 7 short-term trend lines is another one of the master groups that we use. This one I use all the time if I'm on the radar screen. It just gives you a quick response. I mean, when you see 5 red boxes, you just instantly know what's the situation is. And then, of course, you can further look at because the box tells you the direction, and the white. I use white to think of. I thought of clouds in the sky, so excuse me. That would be the high. They're above zero. White text means it's above zero. So. And we are truly amazed at how the system works. We've got some fantastic time-saving tools. The 8 master programs, indicator things in the system are just tremendously effective in saving time searching, and that's what it's about, because you want the better deal that you can find, the better results you're going to get in your portfolio. And so to be able to search faster is a much more powerful system. And that's what the 8 master indicators are able to do. They're just a variety of stuff. We can search location patterns, we can search shape patterns, we can search divergence, we can search the 6 up touches and the 6 down touches. I have another indicator that shows you when the indicator from yesterday to today is equal, and we can tell you if the line is going up or down, and we can tell you if the line has a crossover, if it's crossed over 0. And in some cases crossed over one of the other lines, like power orange line has been crossed over. But mainly we just use we're just thinking of the 0 lines, or 0 crossovers, excuse me. So I used to have a separate crossover indicator, but we combined that because we found it was just it just takes up less real estate if you can combine things into one single indicator. So that's a fantastic general use indicator. You can see different things that are happening instantly on the chart. So we're excited about the system. I think once you have a chance to understand what the system is all about, you're going to be excited as well, because I asked the question, what's more important, the next trade that you make, or the next trade or the system that you use to find the next trade that you make? And obviously the system is more important, and much more powerful in your ultimate ability to build your portfolio. Because even when I was building indicators, I'd build 5 or 6 or 10 in a week, and thought I had a better system. I did not have a system. I had 10 more indicators. And it was many years before I learned how to build the indicators necessary. So it's amazing.